So with the World Cup qualifying window coming up very shortly, I will select the squad that I think Greg Berhalter should call up for the U.S. men's national team. I know 100% it's not going to be anything like this probably because there's not enough of Berhalter's boys on it, but we'll get to selecting. Keep in mind that, these are 3 matches in a short window, and I do think you need at least 28-man squad called up. And I kind of took that into account, and also some injuries and fitness issues. So of course, some MLS players are not going to be completely fit. I do think because that you need an even bigger squad possibly, and a bit more cover in each position, and that's something I'll be accounting for here. And of course, we've also heard that Timothy Way and Giovanni Reyna possibly are not going to be fit or completely fit for these matches. But still, I did call them up because I think even if they can give you 15 to 20 minutes a match, that's much better than having Paul Arriola out there doing cardio, or Christian Rodon doing cardio, being the Tony Snell of the U.S. men's national team. So, yeah, with that, we'll get into the squad they selected. Start with goalkeepers. Zach Steffen, Matt Turner, Gabriel Slanina. I feel like this is pretty simple. Give the young goalkeeper some time with the national team. Get into the culture, the environments, see what it's like playing in World Cup qualifying and being around that environment. So Selena, we'll take him over Sean Johnson. In defense, we're going to start with the fullbacks. This is an interesting position because you have Sergino Dest and Joe Scally. I selected them, obviously. Coming off of COVID, and Dest doesn't seem to be the preferred right back option for Xavi. So fitness could be a big issue, but again, Anthony Robinson, Sergino Dest, DeAndre Yedlin, Joe Scally, Sam Vines. And I called up Sam Vines. I think he has to be called up because of pure fitness reasons. He's been playing more often. I would love to see Jonathan Gomez called up, but I would like to see him also try to get acclimated as much to his club and continue to progress as a professional player. And I think he's a player that we should look at certainly in Nations League, if not the next World Cup qualifying window. But I think Nations League in the summer would be a really good time to bring Jonathan Gomez back. But we need that extra fullback, and I think, we have an issue with Scally. I had Scally there as basically the backup left back possibly, or to push Anthony Robbins for the left back spot. But if he's not completely fit after COVID, Sam Vines needs to be there because of his fitness, and of course DeAndre Yedlin as well to cover Dest in case Dest isn't completely fit either. So yeah, that's why I called it 5 fullbacks. You could certainly make a case for maybe DeJuan Jones as well for extra cover, but he's coming off MLS offseason, so fitness again, I don't know if it's the best idea. But I do think there's going to be plenty of MLS players caught up because Greg Berhalter. And yeah. Now moving to center backs, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman, John Brooks, Mark McKenzie. So pretty simple to me. I mean, Zimmerman and Miles Robinson have been very solid. Chris Richards has been the best center back, club-wise. And he just needs, he should be starting 2 out of 3 matches, if not all 3 possibly, considering his fitness, because he's in good form. He is a complete center back. He reads the game. He's physical. His passing ability is tremendous. I would love to see John Brooks and Chris Richards playing a game together in this window. I definitely think John Brooks needs to be called back into the roster, because if we're playing, especially when they're playing against teams like Honduras and Salvador, who are just probably be sitting back a bit more, I think you need to have 2 guys who can be on the ball and break the lines with their passing ability. I mean, Miles Robinson's very good, but him and Zimmerman are coming off of MLS offseason, and maybe at best they should play 1 match, in my opinion, each. We'll see. It's Berhalter. And Mark McKenzie, just there, it's got an emergency center back option, in my opinion. You could certainly make a case for Cameron Carter-Vickers and possibly Matt Miazga if he starts to play more, but I think those are guys who could certainly get a look again in the next window or Nations League. But yeah, we'll move to the center mids now. So the midfielders here, Tyler Adams, obviously, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, clearly. James Sands should be the number 6. Kellen Acosta had the one very good game in the Gold Cup final as a 6, but he's clearly not seen as a 6 by Berhalter. He's seen as an 8. And so James Sands needs the opportunity. He played in that awful Honduras first half, but it was a 5-2-3, and he's paired up with fucking Kellen Acosta in the midfield, and Tyler Adams is right wing back. That was not the best way to throw a young CDM into the fire. But of course, yeah, Gianluca Busio, been playing so well for Venezia. He has tons of potential. He's still so young, and he just needs to be given as much minutes as possible. With it being a 3-match window, he should be starting a game for sure. And Luca de la Torre, he's a player who breaks lines. He gets forward. He's also very, very solid defensively, honestly. He reads the game very well. He just has that ability to win the ball, get in transition, and make things happen. But according to Greg Berhalter, Mr. Berhalter, he's not as good as Christian Rodon, Kellen Acosta, Sebastian Lletget in that area of his game. So because of that, you probably won't see him actually called up. It's probably one of Berhalter's boys in the midfield over him. Now moving on to wingers, again, with the fitness of issues of Timothy Weah and Giovanni Reyna, I think we have to call up quite a few different options. So yeah, Christian Pulisic, Brendan Aronson, Jordan Morris. I think I'd much rather see him than Paul Arriola, so that's why I called him up. If we're gonna have to select one of Berhalter's boys, it has to be Jordan Morris over Paul Arriola. So then Conrad de la Fuente, he's been playing quite a bit for Marseille. He's fit, and again we had some issues with fitness. So hey, let's bring a player who's fit, who's young, exciting, good, good dribbler. He still hasn't exactly had the final product yet, but hey, he's raw. Let him cook. We're playing against fucking El Salvador and Honduras, who are terrible, man. El Salvador really isn't terrible. I feel like they've done well, but Honduras is completely awful. But have him. He can make things happen against these level opponents. I mean, he plays for fucking Marseille. Come on. He plays against much more talented opponents than some of these guys he's gonna be up against for sure. But the Nicolas Joachini, he's a player who looked very dangerous in the Gold Cup, and he's just very direct. He's fun to watch. Even the limited minutes sometimes he gets in France at the moment, he looks dangerous as well. And sometimes it's just to kill off a game, but he looks good in those minutes he gets. And hey, that's a good attribute, even if he's not starting. He's been training. He's been getting those minutes. He's in much better fitness than Paul Arriola for sure. So I like to see him called up again. Even if we can have Timothy Weah and Giovanni Reyna play like 15, 20 minutes and not completely fit, I think they should be on the roster and called up, just even if they can play those limited minutes. Now, moving on to the striker spot, I think this is another interesting one because Ricardo Pepi, of course, he played in the December camp. He just moved to Europe. He got some minutes now for Augsburg, so hey, that's good. He's not going to be completely fit, possibly. So we need to bring some other striker options. So Daryl DK, Jordan Pefok, and Jesus Ferreira are the other striker options we're going to look at. So Daryl DK hasn't actually played yet for West Brom. So he's not going to be very fit, but he's looked very good in MLS. We're not calling him Josh Sargent. I'm sorry. We can't, until we see him putting the ball back in the net more. He's not that option yet as a number 9 at least. So sure, he can. I'd actually maybe even rather see Josh Sargent on the fucking wing than Paul Arriola. But as a number 9, no. Jordan Pefok, because of course he's been playing in Europe. He's a bit more fit than the MLS guys. I think he's more of a option as like a target man. Putting those he gets his head on those crosses, and around the 6-yard box he's actually pretty very goal dangerous. He's a very goal dangerous player. Obviously he's a fucking big striker, and even I remember against El Salvador, there's a couple of times where they just kind of put in some crosses to him, this kind of hopeless crosses. He got on the end of them, probably should have scored them, didn't get the best contact on them, but hey, that can certainly make the difference in a game that's pretty tight. Where teams are just sitting back, he can certainly make that difference. And Jesus Ferreira, he looked very dangerous actually in his cameo appearance versus Mexico. I almost said that. He actually looked very dangerous against them. He can link up play. He's very solid as a striker in that sense. He's been playing more as a cam recently, obviously, or a second striker, and he could certainly play as a 10 even, play in the midfield. He's very versatile. He can play on the wing also, so he's kind of an extra player I feel like you can bring in because of that, because he's just can play all over, honestly. If you can maybe use him as 8/10 even on the wing as a striker. And again, with some of these players not being completely fit, you need a player like that in a World Cup qualifying window. I mean, you just think about, look at the past couple of World Cup qualifying windows. You've had players like Clarence Goodson, Michael Parkhurst, guys who didn't end up making the final roster. It made a difference in the end. I mean, you think of Herculez Gomez playing on the wing. There's a lot of Brad Evans. I feel like some people just worry a bit too much. There are players who may not be of the utmost quality, but it's CONCACAF. So I feel like we can worry about guys like Sebastian. I completely agree with like Sebastian Lletget, Christian Roldan. Hey, but there's some guys who are like maybe on the fringe, who are not nearly as awful or painful to watch in them. I feel like you're gonna need some guys who can grind a bit. I mean, look at, was it Connor Casey? 2 goals for the national team, I think was against Honduras back in the 2010 World Cup qualifiers. 2 big goals. Expected for him to kind of maybe take off out of that. He never did, but he was a big bruiser. He could win headers, and I feel like that's where you could see guys like P. Folk really making a difference, or versatile defenders. Like, I mean, that's what Michael Parkhurst was. He could play all along the back line. So I feel like we can't really worry too much sometimes about the selection, but I do feel like it is also Greg Berhalter. And yes, there's certainly some room to worry with him, man. But yeah. With that, thank you all, everyone who's tuned in. I actually really love and appreciate the support we've got on the channel so far. Let me know some players you do think we're missing. Of course, there are some guys just coming back. I mean, you got Matthew Hoppe. If he starts to play more, he could certainly maybe make a late push into the window. He's a guy who could play on the wing also. So he's one maybe I'm missing out on again. Richie Ledesma, if he was playing more, I think could certainly break into the roster as a versatile player on the wing. He does play kind of like inverted winger sometimes for his club, and he can play as an 8/10. Of course, defenders, I did mention maybe Cameron Carter-Vickers, Matt Miazga if he starts to get a few more games before the next window also. Of course, Jonathan Gomez is an interesting prospect to look at. But any other players you think I missed out on? Any suggestions? Maybe you guys think we should be... Maybe there's a new tactic, formation, whatever it is, man. Thank you everyone for all the love and support. I really appreciate it. All the nice comments, everyone interacting with the videos. With that, thank you all for tuning in. I love you. I'll be signing out now, and I'll catch you guys later.